Thank you so much for joining this session. All right, so in the last session, we have discussed about recurring activities, how to add recurring activities. And for example, we have added a recurring activity for monthly meeting for 8 regular meeting every month. And if we just double click on that part, we can see that that was recurring activity for 6 hours and every second Friday of the month. And we can see that also in the Gantt chart. If we just collapse it, we can see a one single row there. Or if we just expand it, we can see an eight number of meeting. Each has interval of added in the Gantt chart. But that is something with a fixed duration and fixed recurring activity duration. And for example, if we don't have a fixed duration activity and even we don't have a fixed recurring pattern activity, what to do in such scenarios? For such scenarios, we don't need to add a recurring activity just like this. We will be having a simple task entry. For example, we have under this project, we have another task which is, for example, audit of project. Okay, and we suppose that that is like for 50 days and starting from the very start of the point startup of the project, which is like 7/3/2024. All right, so we have this task in here, but now we want this task to split between 2 or 3 points so that we can have a recurring sort of a thing but with our specific custom needs. In such scenarios, rather than putting a recurring task, we have this particular task in here and we will be splitting into pieces, and the process of splitting into pieces are we need to go into the task and keeping that particular task selected, we will be having under schedule and we will see this sign here which indicates a split task. Okay, so we can split this task by pressing, and we can see our as soon as we press this one, we see that this particular window pops up and the arrow of the cursor of your mouse also changes, and we take our mouse to that particular task and we can see the from start of the date it is basically changing from the start of the days start date of the task. If we just scroll our mouse to the right, we can see the date is changing as we pass on the task till the very end of the project task. All right. So for example, if we start this project from 7/3 and we hover over to, we need to have a first split on 7/10. We just drag it down there to become 7/10. And as soon as we have on that date, we just press a click. And that splits our project into an unprecedented gap in there. But that is fully controllable. So now we can see that our project is still on 50 days, but that the end date has been changed. If we just go back and we can see the end date, it was previously 9/10. Okay, but if we have a split in there, we still need to select that task, go to split, take your mouse to that date and become, once your date becomes there, you just press a click there, it adds almost a month in between. That is your first split. But when we have a split on that part, but when this actually started, so we need to drag down to the main date where it actually got started. And that has a gap of a week. We just need to press that cursor. We just need to press that part, the second part of a project, and we will be dragging it down to the right and left part of the project where was it actually started. And that has a gap of 1 week. If you see that, if you just focus on the task start date, which is currently 8/4, if you just slightly slide down, slide to the right, it takes a 7-day gap automatically. So we have to decide which date it actually got started. So we believe that it actually started on very close to the end of the first interval. So that was ended on 7/11, 7/10. So we will be starting that next part on maybe 7/21. So here you go, we have our first split. But for now, for example, we want to have more splits. So we can do multiple splits on that. So rather than going into the task and split, you just take your mouse there and right click, and you will be having this bar, format bar, and all those stuff there, because you can also have this above there, which we have a split arrow shown here. And if we just split the task here as well, we will be having again a similar scenario. And now we need to select from where our split is going to start again. And for example, if we take our mouse there, we want to have a split on the 1st of August. So we have a 1st of August now, and we just press sign here, focus on the end date of the project. It again changes to almost a month. And now we can drag our second part of the project where we actually want it to. If you wanted to have more split, we just need to right click on here, again go to the split, and we can see the third part of a split there. And we just drag it down to the left and right, we automatically focuses on that part. So that is how we can add a multiple split part with unprecedented and unwanted duration and unwanted gaps of any particular task which we require for recurring proceedings. And we can see that the duration of the total project as still remains the same, because total project task, if we just count this particular task, this one and this one, that totally remains of 50 days. To check this further, we have two options there. We can add another column which is called work. We will be having an insert column there, and we can see a lot list of the work of the columns there. Each has a certain function on that, and we just type in work, and we can have this column here. We can see currently it has a zero work, but if we assign any particular resource, it automatically shows a total duration of those 50-day tasks. We just add an audit team or maybe an A here, we can see a total 400 days, 400 hours of work has been performed for 50 days. And if we just calculate them into, divide them onto 50 days, we can see 400 divided by 8, 50 days. So that means 8 hours of work daily performed. And if we see the project at starting calendar date, we can see our project calendar date is also of the 8 days. So that indicates that our total task is still 50 days, but with the interval of 4 number of days. Thank you so much. We will talk about the next session.